Bermuda is trying to find a way to sustain the efforts to bring Islamic scholars to enlighten Bermuda about the deen of Islam. And so the funds that have been collected have gone to pay for plane tickets, things such as accommodation, food, transportation, and a humble honorarium for our guest speaker. So we want to thank you, and we thank Allah for your help and for your assistance. And we want to welcome our brother. Is he here? I have a spot.
I'm here.
Cut it out, man. You had me for a minute, you know. Yes, subhanAllah. So we want to welcome our brother, and it's not just our brother, he's become our friend. So he's a friend of our community, and we think he's kind of cool also. So I don't want to put you on the spot again, brother, with a long introduction. So
Alhamdulillah.
Please, welcome.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Let me just say before I begin, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and good evening to all of our guests that are not here, that are not Muslim, that are here. Let me just say that it is an honor to be here again. When you've, for many years, I've been a public speaker about Islam since around 2003. All right, we're in now 2020, so that's roughly 17 years of my life that I have been doing this. And throughout, and it's been a tumultuous journey, to be honest with you. Mainly because of my mouth, gets me in a lot of trouble. Nonetheless, I've enjoyed all of it. The difficulty, pain, you know, the doors that have been closed in my face and the other doors that have been opened. It's all part of my journey and the journey of those who I'm, you know, sharing my journey, my experience with. And when I get an opportunity to come and speak to a community, and they actually value what I have to say, it makes it all worth it. It makes it all worth it because I don't think a lot of people are aware of what public speakers go through, you know, to get to this point where I'm standing in front of you with a microphone in my hand. You know, you're talking about a plane ride, which the plane ride here to Bermuda is always this ride in particular was, you know, I'm holding my wife's hand thinking that this is pretty much it. You know, you're literally risking your life. You know, I have children that, you know, I could have stayed home with, but I chose to leave them and to come here and be with you guys. And in that process, I'm literally risking my life to do that. I don't think that people, I wanted to share this with you guys before we start the lecture so that we humanize, you know, the speakers and not to sensationalize them, not to commercialize them, not to make them look more than what they really are. I literally abhor the sensationalization of Islamic scholars, preachers and speakers and students of knowledge. I do. I hate the fact that we will take an individual and we will raise him to such a degree that he's almost, you know, untouchable and infallible, and everything that he says is gold, is law. And women chasing behind him, wanting to marry him, and the men wanting to, you know, literally, you know, just be him. They talk like him, they walk like him, they, you know, and it's just really sad. Because no human being is deserving of that other than Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we don't even give him that. You understand what I'm saying? We don't even give him that. And I think it's important that we humanize the speakers. We see them for who they really are. And we see the sacrifices that go into making events like this possible. You know, so not to mention the airport, going through the airport. You know, I don't know if any of you guys ever been stopped at an airport. They put a mark on, they put 3 S's on your ticket, as you're going through the line. And then as you're waiting on line, 3 huge officers come to you and ask you to step out of line and come with me. And then they take you in the back room, take your suitcase, and go through your suitcase, pull all of your clothes out. And some of them can be very disrespectful. And in many instances, they will take your cell phone from you, go through your cell phone, your pictures, just complete violation. Your laptop, plug your laptop in, open your laptop, and go through everything. Also, they can come and give you a lecture. And I'm just sharing that with you so that you are aware of all of the elements that go into making things like this happen. You know, purchasing the plane tickets, trying to find a flight that is direct. Sometimes we can't find a flight that is direct, so we have to do a connecting flight, which puts the speaker and his family in a situation where they have to get off at another stop, wait for a couple of hours, get on another stop, and the jet lag. I'm not as young as I used to be. I used to really get a kick out of doing that. I really used to enjoy traveling. And now the compensation fee that I charge for traveling is because I don't want to travel. And I'm hoping you say, no, that's too much, thank you. So I can say thank you because I didn't want to go anyway. Literally, I kid you not. So I'm honored to be here and to be able to spend time with you guys again. Alhamdulillah, it was only a couple of months ago that I was here, and I got a phone call from Ismail and said, listen, we need to bring you back. And so I'm honored that, that was appreciated and you guys actually, want more. And alhamdulillah, I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me the opportunity, to do his work. Because this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's work. This is my ticket to paradise, hopefully. But this is all his work. This is not about me. This has absolutely nothing to do with me. As a matter of fact, I'm included in the journey as well. I'm included in the experience as well because, as I said last night, the more I speak to you, the more I'm speaking to myself. I do not separate myself from anyone else when I'm talking to them. As a matter of fact, I'm talking to me first. So this leads me into the discussion for tonight, and I know that there is an event tonight, a brother's 50th anniversary, and I don't want to keep people away from that. As a matter of fact, I myself would like to go and congratulate the brother for, tremendous journey of 50 years with the same woman. That within itself should be commemorated. You only get one 50th anniversary. Wallahu a'lam whether he's going to have another 50. So I'm going to make my speech short and to the point. As the Arabs, they say, خَيْرُ الْكَلَامَ قَلَّ وَدَلَّ. The best of speech is that which is short and to the point. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says in the Quran, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَلْتَنْظُرْ نَفْسٌ مَا قَدَّمَتْ لِغَدٍ وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ خَبِيرٌ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ. O you who believe, fear Allah, be conscious of Allah, be aware of Allah, aware of God, and let every soul look at what it has put forward for tomorrow. وَلْتَنْظُرْ نَفْسٌ مَا قَدَّمَتْ لِغَدٍ. Let every soul look at what it has put forward for tomorrow. This ayah, this verse in the Quran, it is basically calling Muslims, calling people who believe, as Allah says, "O you who believe." He doesn't say, "O Muslims." He says, "O you who believe." Believers in God. Calling you to take a look at yourself. Let every soul look at what it has put forward for tomorrow. This verse is calling us to do something that is known in the Arabic language as muhasabah, reflection, accountability, taking a look at yourself. And what have you really done for your soul? That's a question that I want every one of us to leave here tonight asking ourselves, and then start your journey in answering that question. What have you really done for the salvation of your own soul? What have you done? Because there were people who came before us who did much more than what we are doing today and were still concerned about the salvation of their soul. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Prophet Muhammad's closest companion, the first one to believe in him, first man to believe in him. The man who hid in a cave with him as he was, being sought, and traveled across the desert with him to Medina. He was the first Khalifa, the first successor to Prophet Muhammad, a leader of the Muslim community after the Prophet ﷺ's demise. And with all of what he did, he's amongst the 10 that was promised Jannah. And on his deathbed, he said, "Ya laytani rak'atayn maqbulatayn." I wish I knew for a surety that I had 2 units of prayer that Allah would accept from me. I wish. While we go to bed every night making 5 daily prayers with the belief that we've done our job and we lay our head on our pillow very comfortably with not a worry or concern in the world. Meanwhile, these individuals used to get up at night, sacrifice their nights praying, and were still afraid that they had not done enough. Umar radiallahu anhu, who had conquered much of the outer world that we know of today. Syria, Damascus, Egypt, all of those areas, Iraq, many parts of Iraq, was conquered at the hands of Umar bin al-Khattab radiallahu anhu. A man who stood on the mountain of Uhud along with the Prophet ﷺ and Abu Bakr, and the mountain of Uhud began to tremble. The Prophet ﷺ stamped his foot down on the mountain of Uhud. He said, "Uskun ya Uhud, فَإِنَّمَا عَلَيْكَ نَبِيٌّ وَصِدِّيقٌ وَشَهِيدًا." He said, "Be tranquil, O mountain of Uhud, for indeed standing upon you is a prophet, a Siddiq, a truthful one, Abu Bakr, and 2 martyrs, 2 men who are going to lose their lives for Islam." And that was Umar bin al-Khattab radiallahu anhu and Uthman ibn Affan, who were both murdered. Umar radiallahu anhu murdered, stabbed, while he led the Salatul Fajr, and Uthman besieged in his own home, as we mentioned in the khutbah, killed in his own home while he was fasting, reading the Quran, so much so his blood spilled on a verse in the Quran. Both murdered. And Umar radiallahu anhu, he said on his deathbed, when they kept reminding him that you are the Prophet's companion, you're going to paradise, you're this, he didn't say anything more than raqiban wa rahiban, between hope and fear. I live my life in my last moments. I am between hope and fear. Hope that God will accept from me everything that I offer, and fear that none of it will be adequate enough. None of it will be enough. While we sleep comfortably at night, knowing, I prayed my 5 daily prayers, I fast my month of Ramadan, I'm a Muslim, I put on hijab, and we believe that that is enough. There were people who did way more than what we did, and were in more fear than many of us are today. So as we ponder on that verse, let every soul look at what it has put forward for tomorrow. What have you done for your soul for tomorrow? The purpose of looking in a mirror is for what? It's for you to become acquainted with the blemishes. Become acquainted with the blemishes that are on you for the purpose of correction, for the purpose of fixing it. That is the purpose. So when we look at the mirror, we're not actually looking for the beauty of what we see. We're looking for the imperfections. As the Prophet ﷺ, he made a dua, which is something that we can use when we look in the mirror. He used to say, Allahumma kama ahsanta khalqi fa ahsan khuluqi. Oh Allah, as you have perfected my physical stature, then perfect my inward, perfect my character. You're looking for the blemishes, the character flaws, which we all have. And as I said earlier, a lot of times we, use victimization. We make it everybody else's fault. Oh, I'm like this because of him, or I'm like this because of her. Well, if she wouldn't have done this, I wouldn't be like that. If this one didn't do this, I wouldn't be. And we take zero responsibility and accountability for the flaws that lie deep within us. Because it's very easy to put it off on somebody else, very difficult to sit with yourself. Very difficult to sit in the discomfort of the reality of who you are. That's not easy. And it takes a certain type of individual, a type of individual that does not want to meet God with these flaws and these mistakes if you can change it. So the purpose of looking in the mirror is to correct the blemishes so that we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we meet God with as few flaws and mistakes as possible. And the ones that we do meet him with, there's the hope that he will forgive us for those, that he will pardon us and overlook us for the things that we could not correct within ourselves. All right? Because there's a possibility that there will come a time that if we do not correct those things now, those things will be waiting for us when we stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as Allah says in the Quran, أَن تَقُولَ نَفْسُ يَا حَسْرَةَ عَلَى مَا فَرَّطْتُ فِي جَنْبِ اللَّهِ وَإِن كُنْتُ مِنَ السَّاخِرِينَ. He said, or at least a soul says, when it stands before God, at least a soul says, Ya hasrata, oh I wish I had not, been negligent as it relates to the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over me. When before I was amongst those who used to mock and used to, mock everybody else and find fault with everybody else, but I wasted my time doing that. Umar radiallahu anhu said a very powerful statement. He said, Hasibu anfusakum qabla an tuhasabu. Hold yourselves accountable before there comes a day where you will be held accountable. Meaning you have an opportunity right now to fix those things within you. Some people, they have been carrying around baggage for all of their lives since they were children. They have been giving the people in their lives the most horrible experience for so many years of their lives. Whether it's their co-workers, whether it's their children, whether it's their spouse, whether it's whoever. We just give people around us, the people we share our space with, such a horrible experience. And here again, we victimize because we're the victim. I remember there was a time in my life as a teenager where I used to walk around with a chip on my shoulder. And I thought, my thought was, I didn't ask to be here. Why would God put me in this situation like this? I didn't ask for the parents that God gave me. I didn't ask to be here. And I used to think that the world owed me. And I used to walk around like that for so many years of my life. And eventually I had to come to the realization that the world doesn't owe me anything. And as a matter of fact, I did ask to be here. Because out of the 1.8 sperm cells that were released into my mother, I was the only one that made it. So obviously I did ask to be here. And those are things that kind of linger in your subconscious, and you know it's there. You just don't ever want to confront it until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God, puts you in a situation where it forces you to confront it. It forces you to confront it. Be that situation prison, be it hitting rock bottom in your life, wherever it is, you are literally forced to confront that. And you can continue ignoring it and allow this stuff to linger on in your life until you finally do meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or you can begin unpacking your bag and begin to deal with your baggage. Deal with the things that you have been carrying for your entire life. Hasibu anfusakum qabla an tuhasabu. Hold yourselves accountable before there comes a day where you will be held accountable. This is what prison represents, for the most part, what it's supposed to represent. It is a place for people who do not know how to exercise self-discipline in society. So because you don't know how to discipline yourself, we're going to put you in a place where you will be forced to be disciplined. So in prison, you're told when to get up. You're told when to go to sleep. You're told when you can eat. You're told when to go to the gym. You're told when you can visit your family, because you didn't value that when you had it in your own hands. When you have your own freedom, you can go and come as you please, but there still has to be some level of self-discipline in your life. And either you can exercise that discipline here, or they have a place for you if you don't know how to exercise discipline. And the same thing applies to real life in terms of this world as well as the next world. Either you can hold yourself accountable here, or you can continue living life recklessly, and you wait until your soul departs from your body, your human experience is over, and then accountability will start for you there. And if you don't believe me, all you have to do is continue living until your time is up. And I don't know about you, but someone can say, well, how do you know? I've never been to the afterlife, but what I can assure you is that you are better with it than without it. What do I lose? Living my life disciplined according to the laws of God, and then dying and departing from this world, and maybe there is no God. What do I lose though? Versus a person who lives life recklessly, lives their life on their own terms, and then dies, and there is a possibility that there is accountability on the other side. And even if there's not, you live such a reckless lifestyle here, your soul was already tormented. So you actually died twice. You didn't enjoy this life, nor will you enjoy the hereafter. And I'm saying that, just for the sake of argument, for argument's sake, because we're streaming this live, and I know that there are, I always try to meet everybody where they are. But this is just for the sake of argument for us as Muslims. We are certain that there will be accountability. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, do you think that we created this world, abathan, وَأَنْتُمْ إِلَيَّ لَا تُرْجَعُونَ, and that you are not going to return back to me? You think God created all of this perfection that we see in the world? Allah tells us, look again in the sky. Look again at Allah's creation. Do you see any imperfection? Do you see any flaw in God's creation? Do you think Allah did all of that abathan, just out of play and amusement? Or was there a divine purpose behind all of it? This is not about play and amusement. There is a divine, law. There is a divine accountability after this. This is not a joke. So, hasibu anfusakum qabla an tuhasabu. Hold yourselves accountable before accountability is taken for you. Wazinu a'malakum qabla an tuzanu. Weigh your deeds before your deeds are weighed for you. We know Yawm al-Qiyamah, on the Day of Judgment, we believe that our deeds will be weighed for us. There are scales. As Allah says in the Quran, وَنَضَعُ الْمَوَازِينَ الْقِسْطَ لِيَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ, and we will bring out the scales of justice on the Day of Judgment, and your deeds will be weighed. But you have the ability to weigh your deeds here. Weigh your deeds. Look at how your actions affect other people. Look at how your actions affect you, how it affects your soul. There are 3 types of souls that are mentioned in the Quran. In the Quran, it mentions 3 different types of souls. The first type is the worst type, and that is an-nafs al-ammaratun bis-su'. It is the soul that constantly inclines towards evil. This is the soul that when you leave it, it does whatever feels good. It does whatever feels good, whatever is, pleasurable to the soul. Pleasure seeker. Ammaratun bis-su'. This is the soul that constantly enjoins upon itself evil. Then there's the second type of soul, which is the balance between the 2 extremes. There is that soul, and the second soul is an-nafs al-lawwama. An-nafs al-lawwama, this is the self-reproaching soul. This is the soul that recognizes that I do wrong, but right after I do wrong, I correct myself. Right after I do something that's wrong, I rush and I correct myself. I find fault with myself. I have conversations with myself. I look at myself in the mirror and I hold myself accountable. People who have that type of mentality, they don't wait for other people to correct them. They do that themselves. These are the type of people, when they know that they have done someone wrong, they go back, they think about their actions, and they go back and they correct it. That's what we should be doing. And then there's the third type of soul, which is an-nafsul mutma'inna. This is the tranquil soul, the peaceful soul. This is the soul that has reached the pinnacle of the human experience. And that is that la aliyya wa la li. As Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu said right before he died, I am just happy that I don't owe nobody, don't nobody owe me. Meaning, I haven't wronged anybody, and I've forgiven anybody who has wronged me. I got enough to worry about on my own to be carrying somebody else's mess with me Yawm al-Qiyamah. I'm sorry, I'm not doing that. If I wronged you, if I did anything bad to you, I apologize. And anything that you've done to me, don't worry about it. I've forgiven you a long time ago because I'm not going to allow that to anchor me. I'm trying to rise. I'm trying to evolve. And the only way that that can happen is that you got to snip all of the lines that are trying to connect to you to hold you down. I'm sorry. Not going to happen. Aisha radiallahu anha, Habiba, Ramla bint Abi Sufyan, the daughter of Abu Sufyan, Habiba, who married the Prophet ﷺ, when she was on her deathbed, right? This is muhasabah all the way up until the moment your soul is getting ready to depart from your body. Habiba, who was one of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ's wives, right? She's on her deathbed, sick. She knows that her time is running out. She calls her co-wife Aisha. This is a woman who she had to share her husband with. She calls Aisha to her bed. And she says to Aisha, كانت بيننا ما بين الدرة. She said, between us, between me and you as co-wives, is what was normally between co-wives. There's jealousy, there's little hidden animosity here and there. We do little things to spite one another. That's normal. And in today's time, when we find women in polygynous situations, we over-exaggerate what goes on between them. And we'll say, see, that's why polygyny shouldn't even be practiced. See, that's why, and the fact of the matter is that why are we over-exaggerating it? That's normal. That's what's supposed to happen between women who are sharing their husband. It happens. Nonetheless, she calls Aisha and she says, between us, what was normally between co-wives, animosity, jealousy, she said, but I pray that you forgive me for any wrong that I've done to you, and I've forgiven you for any wrong that you have done to me. I want to make sure that as I depart from this world, I don't owe anybody, nobody owes me. I don't want anything from you. I don't need your forgiveness. I don't need anything. I cut you loose. I've forgiven you. Cut you loose. You are responsible for the pain that people have caused you. The pain that people have caused you, they are responsible for that. You are responsible for the healing. You are responsible for the journey to healing. We can't change what people have done to us. People have done some really horrible things to us in our lives. Be it our parents, be it our spouses, be it our children. People have done some horrible things to us in our lives. And it is because of sometimes those horrible things that we have ascended. We have risen to the places that we are right now. That we would not be the people that we are right now had it not been for the pain that people have caused us. And while it was a painful journey, don't get to the top and enjoy all of the accolades of where you are and then detest the road that it took for you to get there. It's all part of the journey. All of it. Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, all of what his brothers did to him, lied on him, threw him in a well, sold him into slavery, all of what they did. And he turned around at the very end and said, I forgive you. Why? Because I'm a king now. What I look like holding you accountable, stooping to your level to hold you accountable for something that you did for me late years ago. No. Be aware of hate. You become the very thing that you hate. Because to stoop to that level and to do to them what they did to him would make him no different than they are. You see? You become the very thing that you hate. Hatred is not good. Forgiveness is about you, not about the other person. You can think that you got away with it. You can take my forgiveness as weakness. That's on you. But understand something. What you put out into the world, that will come right back to you. Whether from me or from somebody else. I trust in a God who is fair. You understand? So when I tell you I forgive you, don't think that you're getting away with it. Because even if I forgive you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can still hold you accountable. He can still punish you. It's not over because I forgave you. One of the signs that Allah loves you is that He punishes you immediately. If He didn't, then He would delay your punishment to the hereafter and it would be many times over worse. If He loved you, He's going to punish you immediately. As the Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا أَحَبَّ اللَّهُ قَوْمًا, that when Allah loves the people, He hastens their punishment. عَجَّلَ لَهُمُ الْعُقُوبَةَ. He hastens their punishment for them in this life, so that you don't have to deal with it in the hereafter. It's all squared away here. But forgiveness is about you, not about the other person. And the less time it takes for the more that you hold on to the resentment, the more you're hurting yourself, not the other person. The person just might be a toxic individual. They hurt you, they hurt this person, that person, and they're going to keep hurting other people. So you sitting around, walking around with this resentment, weighing you down your entire life. And it's like, holding on to resentment about someone in hopes that that resentment might do them some harm is like drinking poison, hoping that it kills the other person. It's asinine. The only person that you're hurting is you. Let it go. Forgive the person so that you can move on, not the other person. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will deal with them. Allah says in the Quran, وَجَزَاءُ سَيِّئَةٍ سَيِّئَةٌ مِثْلُهَا, and the reward of evil is an evil just like it. You do evil, evil comes back to you. May not be today, may not be tomorrow, may not be by me, may not be by him, but it will come back to you. I believe that. And anybody who's lived long enough has seen that play out in your life. You've seen that happen. I've seen it happen at least 100 times in my life. I know that really happens. I've done things as a non-Muslim and I've said to myself, I know this is going to come back to me. And sure enough, it comes right back. Hold yourselves accountable before there comes a time where you will be held accountable. Weigh your deeds now before there come a time when your deeds will be weighed for you. Umar said that it is easy for you to hold yourselves accountable today than to wait until tomorrow and be held accountable, meaning on the day of judgment. So we really need to take a deeper look within ourselves. Really take a look at ourselves and ask ourselves, what am I doing? What am I doing? What have I done for my soul up to this point? And so the three souls, there's the soul that enjoins upon itself evil. There's a soul that is the self-reproaching soul. That's the soul that we're hoping that we're blessed enough to be like that soul. That I do wrong, but then I correct myself afterwards. I do wrong, and I correct myself until we get to the point where doing wrong is no longer a factor. And we just do right. As my mother used to say to me, I used to be a horrible liar. I wear all of my emotions on my face. And my mother used to say, you are a terrible liar. Just do the right thing. You ain't never got to worry about lying. Just do the right thing. And I didn't understand at that time in my life what she meant. And now as an adult, I understand. It's easier to just obey God and do right by Him than to keep dabbling in what is haram and what is disobedience to Him, and then constantly going back and repenting and asking for forgiveness. You're tormenting your soul. You're fluctuating between these two states of, and you're tormenting your soul. And it's just easier to just be obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on a constant basis. And yes, we're going to make mistakes, but the moment we make mistakes, we turn around and we reproach ourselves, we find fault with ourselves, we hold ourselves accountable, and we correct it. We correct it. So this is what I wanted to present. I just wanted to kind of give us, I didn't want to make it so morbid, but I did want us to, as I depart from here, to at least let my last words to you guys be something that, just kind of taps into your soul a little bit, digs deeper a little bit. And I think that we all need moments where, of reflection. We all need moments. And as I said, you can either take that moment on your own, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God can force you to take that moment. I'll give you an example and I'll end with this. If you look at the story of Prophet Yunus, Prophet Jonah, right? Jonah. He walked away from his responsibility of being a prophet. He ordered his people to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They refused. He threatened them that if you don't believe in a certain amount of time, God is going to punish you. And then after that time came and no punishment came upon them, they began mocking him. And he got mad at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He got mad at God. As Allah says in the Quran, وَذَنُّونَ إِذْ ذَهَبَ مُغَاضِبًا فَظَنَّ أَنْ لَا نَقْدِرَ عَلَيْهِ. And Dhannun, the companion of the well, Prophet Yunus, when he walked away in anger, not just at his people, but he was also upset with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because he felt like Allah let him down in that moment. I made a promise that you were going to punish them, and then you didn't come through in your promise. You didn't punish them. Sometimes Allah doesn't respond to us. God doesn't respond to us in the way that we want him to. But then we still have to love him. We still have to worship him. We still have to do the things that he commanded us to do. And as human beings, we work on reciprocity. We work on quid pro quo, which is why throughout the Quran, Allah makes us all types of deals. Oh, you believe, can I not point you to a tijara, to a business deal that will save you from a painful punishment? Believe in me, and then Allah talks about he will forgive you for your sins, and that's a deal. Quid pro quo. Do this, and I'm going to give you that. All throughout the Quran, from Al-Fatiha to Nas, quid pro quo. Do this, you get that. Do this, you get that. Don't do this, you're going to get that. That's human beings. That's who we are. And so sometimes when God doesn't respond to us the way that we want to, and then we still have to turn around and worship him, for some, it's very difficult. It's very difficult. Even when Allah punishes us, you still have to love him. As one of the scholars of the past, he said that if Allah put me in the hellfire, I would tell everybody in the hellfire I love him. Think about that. Even if Allah punishes you, it doesn't change the way that you feel about him. It doesn't change your thoughts. Sometimes we're going through something difficult and we turn and we're like, why me? Why do you keep doing this to me? What did I do to deserve this? And we start finding fault with God. And in that moment, you have allowed a situation that perhaps he's testing you with to make you better, and you're finding fault with him. Situation that he is trying to remove you from. A situation that you asked him to remove you from. And then when he removes you from it, you go back into it almost as if, as Allah says in the Quran, and the human being calls on us, laying on his side, laying on his back. And then when we respond to him, he moves on about his life as if he never even called on us. This is our relationship with God. Very, very tumultuous relationship. Very topsy-turvy relationship. But Allah knows his creation. So this is why he pardons, he forgives, he overlooks, right? Because he knows us. Allah says in the Quran, أَلَا يَعْلَمُ مَنْ خَلَقَ وَهُوَ اللَّطِيفُ الْخَبِيرُ. Doesn't he know better what he created? And he is al-latif, the gentle, al-khabir, and all aware. Allah is aware of us. He's aware of our situation. And so therefore he's gentle. He's subtle in the way that he deals with us. So Yunus walks away upset, as Allah says, and he walked away mughadiban, upset and angry. فَظَنَّ أَنْ لَا نَقْدِرَ عَلَيْهِ. And he thought that in that moment we didn't have power to bring him back to his situation. Because sometimes we think that I got 2 legs, 2 feet, I got a bank card, I can swipe and make all my problems go away, all human resources, right? And we're good. I only need God when I'm in a dilemma. I only need God when I'm going through something. Things that are above me, then that's when I need God to get me out of the situation. Other than that, God, relax, I got this. But the real believer knows that no matter what resources are at your beck, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are always in need of Him. There's never a time when you are independent of Him. Allah says He thought that we did not have the power to bring Him back. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls the well to swallow him. Allah commanded the well as He commanded the fire during the time of Ibrahim. The creation responds to God. Understand that. The creation responds. The Prophet let his camel walk and he told his Sahaba, Da'ha fa innaha ma'mura. Let my camel walk, for indeed she is commanded by a higher authority. And where the camel kneeled was all written from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing is coincidental. And that was the place that we know today as Masjid al-Nabawi, the Prophet's Masjid. He said, leave her, for she's commanded by a higher authority. The earth responds, the universe responds to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when He commands it. Allah commanded the fire. When they threw Prophet Ibrahim into the fire, Allah commanded the fire, Ya naru kuni baradan wa salaman ala Ibrahim. O fire, be cool, and a place of tranquility and peace for Ibrahim. The creation responds. Allah commanded the well to swallow Prophet Yunus. And here's where he had to take a look in the mirror. Allah commanded the well, don't break his bones. Don't shed his skin. Just hold him there. Hold him. You can either fix your situation or Allah can force you to fix your situation. And He held him there. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in another verse, لولا إذ كان من المسبحين للبث في بطنه إلى يوم يبعثون. If it had not been for the fact that Prophet Yunus used to worship us before this situation, we would have caused him to remain in the belly of the well until the day of judgment. Meaning that the good that you did before, Allah doesn't overlook that. He counts that to your credit. And it might even be enough to lighten the trial of the tribulation that Allah is testing you with because of what you did before. Nothing goes, without merit with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is a shakur. He is the appreciative one of the smallest things that we do. And Yunus came to the realization in the belly of that well. Can you imagine just sitting there in the stomach of a whale? Sitting there, no place to go, nothing to do, dark. And that is representative of some of our lives. Some of the situations that we find ourselves in our lives. We're at a dark place. You hear people say that all the time. I'm in a dark place right now. Yeah, I know. I know. And the only way to get out of that dark place is to do exactly what Prophet Yunus did in that moment. He had to take a look at himself. You got to own you're wrong. You got to own what you did. Can't take responsibility for nobody else but me. As Musa said, Inni la amliku illa nafsi wa akhi. I only have control over me and my brother. I don't have control over Bani Israel and their constant disobedience. I only have control over me and my brother. That's it. I can only own what I've done. And then he calls out in the depths of the darkness of that well, right? And he says, وَنَادَى فِي الظُّلُمَاتِ أَنْ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا أَنْتَ سُبْحَانَكَ إِنِّي كُنْتُ مِنَ الظَّالِمِينَ. And he calls out and he says, لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا أَنْتَ. Nothing worthy of worship except you, O Allah. إِنِّي كُنْتُ مِنَ الظَّالِمِينَ. I was wrong. The only way that you get to the point where you say, I was wrong, is that you have to take a real close look at yourself in the mirror and own your stuff. That's it. You can't say, well, if this person didn't do this, or if this one didn't do that, or if that one didn't do this, if this situation, man, miss me with all of that. You have to own your stuff. Inni kuntu min al-zalimin. I was wrong. And then what does Allah say immediately after that? فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ وَنَجَّيْنَاهُ مِنَ الْغَمِّ. We responded to him immediately. That's all Allah was waiting for. The qadr was already written that you were going to come out. But the qadr cannot be executed until you do what you're supposed to do. You understand? Allah already decrees that you're going to be in this situation. He decreed that you are going to do this action. He decreed that if you do this action, my response is going to be like this. All of that has already been written, but it will not be executed until you do your part. That's the way that the qadr works. The qadr will not be executed until you do what you are supposed to do. You can say, oh, Allah bless me with righteous children. And it might be written for you to have children. But guess what? That dua for you to have children will not be executed until you go out, you find your righteous wife, you get married, and you do what married people do in order to reproduce. You understand? The dua is not going to be executed until you do your part. So you can say all day long, oh Allah, give me this, oh Allah, bless me with that. None of that is going to happen until you do the footwork. Dua and action go hand in hand. Dua are not miracles. Dua, supplication, is not a miracle. These are things that have already been written for you that have yet to be executed because you haven't done what you are supposed to do in order to have it executed. I mean, are we clear? These are not miracles. Miracles were for prophets and messengers. What we are dealing with is what was written, the qadr. And that only happens when you do what you are supposed to do. So we want to see change in our lives, and we keep asking Allah, change my condition, change my condition, change my condition, but yet you are not changing. If you change nothing, nothing will change. Follow me. If you change nothing, nothing will change. You're calling on God to change your condition, to give you a new set of circumstances. It's just, just blowing hot air. Nothing is going to happen because you haven't done what is necessary in order to execute a change in your situation. Yunus looked at himself, took a deep look at himself, and had to come to the realization, I was wrong. Not God didn't respond when I said so. Not my people didn't listen to me. Not my people weren't receptive to my message. I was wrong. I was wrong. And Allah responded immediately. We responded to him and we saved him from the distressful situation that he was in. The Quran is the book of life. Literally. You want to know how to live? You want to know how to live your life and be successful? Everything you need is right there in that book, Al-Quran Al-Kareem. And I pray that inshallah ta'ala we take a deeper look at ourselves. We take accountability for ourselves in the condition that we are in, whatever that condition is currently in our lives, and that we follow the blueprint that has been given to us in order to make changes in our lives. You guys follow me? Am I making sense?
Yes.
Okay. I wish there was something that I could say that could lift the spirits up, because the room is very quiet right now. It's uncomfortably quiet.
It's the sound of paying attention.
May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you all. Thank you all for coming out. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us more opportunities to spend time with each other. I can really say that I really enjoy it. It is worth everything to come here and spend time with you guys. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues to bless your community. It's a slow process. Trust me, I know it's a slow process, but inshallah ta'ala, just keep working at it. We ain't got nothing but time. And hopefully the next time that I come, we'll have a room filled with young people. We need our youth. We need our young people. And you guys with your children, grandchildren, children at the school, we have to get them involved. We have to introduce them to Islam as we see it. Not as what they have been introduced by way of the media and by the misrepresentation of Islam by Muslims who claim to be Muslim but are not practicing Islam accordingly. Right? We have to introduce them to the Islam that we know, because this is the only salvation, in a world of turmoil that we're living in. I mean, God knows best, Allah knows best what the next president of the United States is going, who he's going to be, and what he's going to be, and where our situation is going. And it's very daunting. It doesn't look good. But as long as I have faith in my religion, faith in my book, faith in my people, I know we're going places, because promises have been made, and I believe in the promises of God. I do. And no matter what's going on around me, none of that is strong enough or intense enough to change my view of the promises that I've read in the Quran and those promises that have been made by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'm sorry. There's nothing that can change my opinion about that. And I do believe that, Islam, Muslims will be successful and they will be given the upper hand in the land. I believe that wholeheartedly. And it's not going to be everybody. Prophet Muhammad was very clear that there will always remain a small group from his ummah, from his community, that will be unapologetically Muslim. None can harm them who goes against them or who forsakes them, and they will always remain like that until Yawm al-Qiyamah. And that's a promise. I believe that. And we just hope that we're amongst that small few that remain unapologetically Muslim, while others constantly changing, shifting, flip-flopping, trying to keep up with the time, trying to stay comfortable. Get out of your comfort zone. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. You understand? When you are comfortable being uncomfortable, you don't care what's going on around you. You don't care what's going on around you because you have known nothing but discomfort. So being uncomfortable doesn't change anything. But we get too comfortable. And we have embraced a doctrine that for many years we've seen Muslims always become triumphant. And why should it change now? As long as we follow the blueprint, as long as we stick to the script, we'll be good. I believe that wholeheartedly. وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا وسبحانك ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. I don't know if there were any questions. Huh?
Q&A for 10 minutes.
Yeah, 10 minutes. Cool.
Anybody
Any questions?
Why you said that we are looking for a room full of children and youngsters, just maybe if you can take 2 minutes to directly address the youngsters around us and those who are watching live, what is your advice and then to them really?
Sheikh Muhammad, he said that for our youth, those that are listening online as well as those that are here, what are some words of advice that we can give to them? And I think the last part that I touched on applies more so to them than anyone, because they are the ones that are going to experience, the changes that are going on in our society more than anybody else. Because as they are still developing to try to find themselves and become comfortable with who they are, they have to deal with the changes, the paradigm shift that's going on around us. Older people are pretty much settled in their ways, and you don't really find older Muslims apostating or leaving Islam or having doubt about Islam. That's not the norm. That is usually characteristic of people who are young, who are still trying to find themselves and find their identity and become comfortable with who they are. And so I think for our young people, they have to get in the habit of being uncomfortable and being okay with being uncomfortable. And knowing that we don't always have the answers, and you don't always have to have an answer. You don't always have to have the answer. All the time you see after lectures, well, what is the answer to this? And then they go on these long journeys looking for the answer to this and that. And it's like, at the end of the road, once you get the answer, what are you going to do with the information? Nothing. You just wanted to satisfy your curiosity. And it's just like, everything doesn't have to have a response. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the whole reason that Allah took 23 years to reveal the whole entire Quran was so that the Quran was applied to situations that they found themselves in. There were times in which Allah withheld revelation for a period of time, and the Prophet ﷺ had to sit in that discomfort of not knowing what to do in that moment. He had to sit in the discomfort. In the period of when Aisha was being accused of adultery, that period lasts for over 2 months. Just about 2 months. And he had to sit in that discomfort. Couldn't get on the minbar and defend his wife. He never got up and spoke out in defense of his wife because he hadn't been given permission by Allah to do that. And Allah described him, وَمَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ, that he does not speak from his own accord. He only speaks when revelation is revealed to him. So he had to sit in that discomfort, watching his wife on a day-to-day basis, her name being thrown around the community in such a manner. And he had to sit in that discomfort. He didn't have the answers. And so sometimes I think young people, with the creation of social media and Google, it's just this immediate need to have an answer. And sometimes not having an answer causes you to become patient and deal with the situation as it is, and you wait for a response. You wait for the answer. Or you figure it out and you find the answer out through your experience. And, I think a lot of young people, they come with all of these weird questions, well, where is Allah? Is Allah in a place? And, well, what about this? And is Ya'juj and Ma'juj really people behind a wall? And then you have Islamic scholars who feed into that stuff, who feel the need to respond to everything. There are things that are above our ability to comprehend. Don't ever say, I understand this and I'm knowledgeable in this field or that field, so this doesn't make sense to me. Wallahi, when has ever Islam been something that we dissect by way of our own logic and intellect? Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu ta'ala said, لو كان الدين بالرأي لكان المسألة أسفل الخفين أولى من المسألة أعلاهما. That if this deen was based upon logic and what makes sense, common sense, we would wipe over the bottom of our sock instead of the top. Why do we wipe over the top of our sock for wudu? Is the top of the sock dirty? Don't say, well, I'm a scientist in this and I understand this and this doesn't make sense. If we applied that logic, then we would kind of just dismiss majority of what's in the Quran using that same logic. And we're talking about Islamic scholars who grab a microphone and get in front of a public, get on a public.
Okay, so that concludes this evening's